which we call the Twilight Zone.
See it occur, and you look at Steph and Clay, and even Draymond with his lack of.
Is it 2 in a row? 7 points for him. The twirling Doncic. Melting into the defense. The front carry. Strikes. Swing, fly ball. Well hit left center. Ronald Acuna has rookie rushing record for the Steelers.
Look, he came into this game averaging 3.67 yards per carry. 42nd out of 49 qualified rushers.
Freeze to begin the third quarter. It has been incredible. Here he comes again. Oh, goodness. And a great basketball god. And he was a great guy to teach because
Rally Towel fam, good evening. Welcome to the show. We are back talking baseball. Let's bring them up. Todd, how we doing tonight, sir?
We back, baby. Baseball is back. Been waiting a minute for some baseball to get back in action. Have something that I feel the most comfortable talking about for sure on this podcast.
This is home for Todd.
This is bread and butter for me. No, man, I'm excited that we get back to the roots of Rally Towel Sports here when we do this podcast. You know, for the first 6 or 7 months that we did this thing, this was it. This is what we did. We talked baseball. We didn't really talk many other sports. We'd occasionally, throw in a little football, a little basketball, a little golf. But this is it. This is the root of Rally Towel Sports.
Yeah.
You guys are getting to see the OGs get together and do this damn thing.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. I mean, because when we first started it was back. It was like April, May.
It was May of 2021.
It was May of 21. Yeah. So, shortly after that crazy pandemic year, and we finally decided to start to get this going. Todd had just had Declan, 2 months prior to us getting this kicked off, which was a tall task, and why it took us till May to get it going, because obviously he was getting everything settled there. And
trying to mentally and physically prepare to become a parent. That takes a little bit of time, but
yeah,
I mean, shit. Let's just get into it. So, what is your recollection of how we even got to get to this point where we started doing the podcast?
So, obviously, started back in college with us talking about wanting to do it, and then it took 10 years for us, and personally, a couple different moves for each of us. Since college, we went our separate ways for a little bit. We ended up in Dayton for a while together. Then we split up for a couple years. And then we finally, reconnected back up here in Columbus, where we lived across the street from each other. And, I had just started the gaming thing, so I had everything set up. We'd started in this room right here.
That's right.
All the equipment that I'm using right now was actually on that wall, where that table behind me sits. And then we had 2 chairs, and we shared a mic, and we got after it. It wasn't the most professional setup when we started, but it worked. And we got it going. And it was, I don't know. I just enjoyed the twice a week camaraderie of coming over here, drinking some beers, and talking baseball, man. That was the main thing.
It's funny, man. I think the big thing for me was I number one, I think watching you do the gaming stuff gave me the courage to even put my face on a fucking camera and do this damn thing. But I've told you this. I tell a lot of people this, and I stand by it. I wanted to provide Declan the window to see, like, it's okay to put yourself out there and make yourself a little bit uncomfortable, because the first time you get in front of a camera and you're chatting, and it was me and you, right? We're best friends.
I remember you were terrified, and I would have been too had I not, because I've been doing this for I think a year before we even started the podcast. So, I had already gotten over those nerves, because I've been doing it for so long, and I just remember, like, you just sitting here. I'm like, dude, just beat you. Like, it's cool. Like, we're just gonna hang out. There's probably not gonna be that many people in here first go around. So just hang
crazy,
out.
Though.
Yeah. I mean, look at you now.
Right. I mean, it's hard to be, because there's a certain sense of vulnerability that comes with doing something like this, because you're putting, at least for what we do, right? We're not not everything we do is purely fact-based or statistics-based, that we use that in our conversation. So when you put your opinions out there and people have, varying opinions from what you believe or what you see or how you watch, or interpret things, like it gets really hard the first time somebody's like, that's not right. And you have to be like, well, you got to go through all the steps. And then you have to have that moment where you realize like, there are a lot of varying opinions in the world. And, for us too, everything is, for me, at least for me specifically, it's so technical for me to get on here because that's my Bruce. Thanks for liking the stream, brother.
Up,
happy to have you in. It's hard for me because everything, and this too, that everything I talk about with baseball is so technical because that's how I was raised with the sport. Right. I've shared the story a lot. My dad, growing up, there was a bookshelf in where what we call like the computer room or it's like the laundry room, whatever. And this bookshelf is filled with now 44 years of baseball statistics, right? They used to make these books called Who's Who in Baseball. And my dad collected them from, I want to say from 1974 when he graduated high school. And my brother and I bought the last one for him when they stopped making them in 2015 or 16. Right. And I mean, that was like a yearly gift from Nick and I was to get him this book because it's number one, before phones, if you're taking a shit, you're reading the Who's Who in Baseball, right? Because you could get through 4 or 5 letters before you get to, before you get done taking a shit. And then my dad, being the guy that he is, he would just randomly fact check me or hey, what do you think about Bobby Abreu, or what do you think he's done really well in his career? And you're like, oh yeah, he's averages almost 30 doubles a year or whatever the number is. So sure. It's so cool to take all of that, and I've absorbed that, and now I get to just do this with put
all that knowledge to use.
Yeah, and it's cool to we're obviously you and I were best friends before this, so we talked about it. It brought Corey back into our lives, which we had grown up with him, and then having Corey doing this with us brought Aaron into our lives, and the four of us have. It's become a really unique dynamic because it's almost I don't know, 4 brothers, and we kind of argue like that sometimes too. And I think that's the cool thing is that I talked about the varying opinions, and then we just roll this shit in here, and now we really do have that, right. And we get to do it, and we get to do it with people that we've never met before, and fortunately it connected us with a guy like Tommy who gives us the opportunity on Wednesday nights to do the podcast, simulcasting through Mafia Sports Report, which with a much larger audience. And that was 100% based on just doing this and putting yourself out there. Yeah, so absolutely. It's just it's such a cool thing.
Bruce, it's not weird. Shut up. No, I think I've seen you grow a lot, throughout this, whole process. I remember, obviously from the first episode to now, you've done a really nice job of being able to, get your emotions in check when things in chat are kind of going haywire, and, not taking things so personally. I know that was a struggle up front, and you've done a really nice job.
Thank you.
But that first time that you get challenged and you're live and you're on a platform, it's tough. You gotta figure out a way to not show those emotions, but still, get your point across. And so I'm proud of you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I wouldn't be able to do it without you, bro. You supported me a lot through all of this, and through my temper tantrums. I mean, I'm a grown man that has a temper tantrum.
We all have temper tantrums. It's okay. Tommy, we really appreciate you, man. Thank you for allowing us to use the platform and grow. It's definitely something we can't thank you enough for. Now, the main reason why we are talking baseball tonight, we got so many rule changes. Baseball's getting weird. Todd.
It is, man. We need to get into the speed of the game, right? Because that's kind of all these rule changes were based on the entertainment factor of baseball. So I think that as we go through this and as we're kind of delving into, to the 3 new arms and legs of baseball, to think about the entertainment factor and what the impact is, because I'm sure for anybody that's watching or listening back to this, the common theme of baseball is that it's boring.
Yeah. So I want to throw a name out there for you. The name is Danny Biasone. Does the name ring a bell? It probably shouldn't. Danny Biasone was the owner and founder of the Syracuse Nationals for the ABA.
Okay.
He's the one that invented the shot clock. Came up with the idea, pitched it to the brass. It went into effect on April 22nd in 1954. Completely changed the way basketball was played.
For sure.
I think we're going to see a similar dynamic to baseball in how it's played. The shot clock, I mean, can you imagine basketball without a shot clock?
It's horrible. Look at high school basketball.
Right, exactly. So I will say that the pitch clock, although it has had its – well, let's just talk about the three big changes first.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got the pitch clock. That's a big one. One that I don't think matters at all is the size of the bases. I think that is whatever. But the one that I think is going to have the most impact is the lack of a shift. So I think a lot of the rule changes that they're putting in place, or at least two of the three, are going to be very interesting to see how they play out. I'm a huge fan of all three. Even as I would consider myself a purist in the baseball form. I like it in its natural habitat, but there are some times where it gets kind of ridiculous. And I actually saw a TikTok the other day. It was a clip back from 2016, and it was how many times can Altuve round the bases in a major league game before, like, in between one pitch.
One pitch.
And he almost got around 7 times.
Specifically.
Yeah, he almost got around the
bias.
bases 7 times before, like, in between pitches, and that's ridiculous. So
yes, and so there's another one too. So that there's a real spring training comparison to this Pedro Baez game, and what you're speaking on, Corey. Thank you for liking the stream, brother. Appreciate you. So what you're speaking on is Pedro Baez and the Chicago Cubs playing in Game 1 of the 2016 NLDS, and Pedro Baez took a total of 77 seconds from one pitch to the next pitch. And in that time, Logan Knack, who pitched in a spring training game 2 days ago, completed an entire half inning.
That's insane.
Just to put that into perspective, in a spring training game, a half inning was done in less than 90 seconds. It took Pedro Baez almost 90 seconds to throw a strike that was a foul ball to the next pitch that he threw. That right there tells you what the impact is of what they're doing.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, the old school fan isn't carrying the game the way that it needs to be carried anymore. So they've got to the MLB has to adjust. And they've got to do things that are going to draw a different crowd to kind of bring the sport back to life. And that's why all of these rules are in place. So I mean, regardless of how you feel, this is going to increase the pace. It's going to lead to a lot of exciting plays, and it's just going to make it a lot more bang, bang, bang. And I think you're going to enjoy it. I think everybody's going to enjoy it a lot more, whether you agree or disagree with the changes. I think you're going to like it. Just give it a shot.
I agree with you. I think the big thing, and as we go through, so I have it listed above me here. I think this is probably just the line that we go in. So we'll talk about the pitch clock first, because I believe that one is the absolute most impactful to how the game is going to elevate itself throughout the course of the season. And then we'll go through pitch clock first. We'll go through what it means to not shift and what the asterisks are to the shift now, and then the larger bases and what that actually means. Because I think people have misinterpreted what the larger base is actually for. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, go ahead and get us started on the pitch clock, Todd. Tell us a little bit about how that's going to work.
So the pitch clock works really, we'll call it in 3 different variances, right? So you have the pitch clock as it pertains to no runners on, pitch clock as it pertains to runners on, and then the pitch clock as it pertains to hitters in the batting box. That's the kind of the 3 facets of the pitch clock. So if it's top of the first inning, 0-0 count, game starting, you have 15 seconds from when the umpire says that the game is live and active to make that pitch, right? So What I mean by that is it's 15 seconds to either, with PitchCom now, pitchers are really, they're kind of, pitchers are hitting, or pitching coaches are calling pitches either on their glove or wherever it may be. There's that now. So that's changed the way that pitches are called. So that should be faster. There's less signal. So that was one part of it. But that means as soon as you get the pitch that you're going to throw, once you get into your motion, the pitch clock is dead. Right. So it's not a matter of like, oh, I start my rotation. Right. Or I start my wind.
You don't have to release the ball before the timer's out. You just have to start your motion before the time before the clock hits zero.
Right. It's exactly like basketball where the ball has to be, or I'm sorry, it's different from basketball where the ball has to be out of your hand before the shot clock hits zero. Right. In basketball, that's the rule. In baseball, you just have to be in the active movement of making a pitch to be able to beat the clock, if you will. So what that means is, or kind of the meat and potatoes of it is that there's one motion that you can make in your rotation. So if I'm in full windup, Corey sending 50 stars. Let's go, baby.
What up, baby? Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you, dog. So the idea is that you speed up the game based on people's windups, right? So I use this kind of analogy or this example with Bobby before we started is Johnny Cueto, right? We're both Reds fans. We're Cincinnati guys. Cueto.
This is a big one, guys. This is where you're going to see a lot of mistakes this year.
Yeah. So Johnny Cueto has his strategy is to change timing for hitters, right? And the way that he can change timing is the way that he steps into his motion. So there's times where he would step back and forward and back and forward. And then he would get quick into his rotation, right, to get to home plate. There's a pitcher for the Astros that he had like a triple motion back and then going to home plate. That's no longer legal in baseball. You can only have one motion back, and then you have to be creating your way towards home plate. There can't be any deeks, jukes, whatever you want to call it, and the hitches in the windup. It has to be a smooth motion. So I think you will see a lot of pitchers get violations during games for that specifically. So I'll explain a little bit what the violation or what a fault is, whatever you want to call it. So you can be called for a balk, right? That's a big part of it, which balks lead to runners moving forward on the base path, which really sucks. If there's nobody on the base path themselves, it's a ball. There's certain facets to that too. So I think this is the one where people in their full windup, as you create a routine, if you're not thinking about it and you rock back one or two times. Nick, thanks for liking the stream, brother.
What up, baby?
Tuning in. When guys get into the rotation and you're just getting fluid and you're just, you're hucking a baseball. I could see a guy making a mistake, kind of rocking back and forth two times, and that's automatically a balk, right? So I think that's we'll run into that a lot this year, a lot more than people probably think will happen. So if a runner is on base, you get 20 seconds, right? So 20 seconds from ball coming back, get yourself gathered up, check the runner, whatever it may be, to get to home plate. And you will still be allowed to have what they call a toe tap, right? So when you're in the stretch, you have to come set before you can move forward. Otherwise, it's a balk. Very similarly, baseball will allow you to come set to the toe tap and then go forward, but you still have to have the pause. So that's kind of the pitching side of where this clock comes in. So for the hitting side, what does it mean? A hitter has to be actively in the box. They don't have to be in a stance or anything like that, but they have to be in the box of what baseball is calling an active position with no less than 8 seconds left on the pitch clock. Otherwise, it's a strike against the hitter. And we've already seen this affect a spring training game, right? Red Sox, Atlanta Braves in a spring training game, bottom of the ninth, full count, two outs, bases loaded. The scenario that everybody dreams up in their head on what you're going to do as a hitter or a pitcher.
Bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, full count, 2 outs. Like, come on, man.
And spring training games end in ties, right? Once it's 9 innings, it's gone. It's just like soccer. It's game over. Strike three, because the hitter was not in an active hitting position with with more than 8 seconds left, game's over. Game ends in a tie. Hitter thinks that the pitcher has created a balk. He starts celebrating. Umpire comes out, says, "Nah, dog, you fucked up. You're out. Game over." And people just walk off. And it was the first time where people saw this rule and they were like, "Oh shit, this is how this is really going to work." And Manny Machado was actually the first person to create or implement the rule as a hitter. He broke the hitting rule of no less than 8 seconds. They called a strike on him. He looked back at the umpire and said, "Are you fucking serious?" And the umpire said, "That's the rule." And he shook his head, laughed it off, and finished his at bat. But that's the one. This is the one, guys, where I think that we see baseball, number one, get kind of confusing for players because you play a game for so long at the exact same pace or at your speed, right? Because baseball's one of those things kind of similarly to golf, really. And football, depending on the scenario, if you're trying to kill clock or whatever. But as a pitcher, and at least in my personal experience too, time is kind of everything as a pitcher. You control tempo, whether that's by getting on the rubber as fast as possible to get through an at-bat, or if you get into a scenario where you're unsure of where you want to throw, you could take your lap around the mound, rub the ball up, whatever. That's going to change right away. I mean, and very similar for hitters too, right? Like everybody remembers Nomar Garciaparra's routine or his cadence before he
Sean
hit,
Casey.
Right? Yeah, hit the pine.
Love the mayor, but whatever. Yeah, that shit was annoying.
So I looked it up. So I wanted to have a number. So Sean Casey, most notable red to have a really long cadence in between pitches, 11 seconds. So Sean Casey would have 1 second to get into the box and get into an active stance before the pitcher could throw, based on his previous routine.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So you can still call time, right? There's one opportunity to call time as a pitcher per inning, right? So a non-umpire cadenced time, that's one time, and then one time for a hitter per at bat as well. Unless there is an injury, of course, that's the extenuating circumstance, barring any injury. So I think you'll also see baseball kind of do the football thing where like go down, go down, go down. If a pitcher gets into a bind and they can't, pitch comms start getting bad, or if there's, some miscommunication, I could see a pitcher calling a trainer out to get a break to get everything back together.
Sure.
I think we're gonna see that happen some.
Yeah, no, I mean, I fully expect it. I think one of the cooler things that I've seen, come out of this whole pitch clock thing is that little pitch comm that they wear on like the handle part. So if you wear your glove on this hand, like there's a little device here. It's like an Apple Watch.
Yeah.
And you can communicate. And who was it? Was it Max Scherzer that called like his own pitches?
Yeah. Scherzer is calling his own pitches because he's 40 and he's been through it. He knows, and he's not a guy that's ever been an issue with pace of game, right? If you watch Max Scherzer, Max Scherzer is our generation's Nolan Ryan in terms of how he speeds the game up. Is he almost never comes off the rubber at all.
Yeah,
he gets the ball back, he's in his windup or he's in the stretch and he's ready to go. Yeah. This is something that never would impact him, but a guy who's not in baseball right now, based on his behavior, but Trevor Bauer was a guy that used to utilize time. Trevor Bauer was a guy that would throw a pitch, he'd get the ball back, rub it down, walk to the back of the mound, walk forward, get whatever pitch is being called, shake off a few times until he got what he wanted. Yeah, and that's another thing too, that the pitch comm eliminates a lot of the shake off, right? Because if you watch like Chris Bassett, for example, Chris Bassett for the New York Mets did a lot of that too, a lot of shake off to control time and control cadence, and you're not going to get that anymore. PitchCom eliminates that, and this is the one that when you look at this being implemented in minor league baseball, it shaved off 27 minutes a game. That's the difference between you getting your kids home from a 7 o'clock game at midnight, and now you're getting them home at like between 11 and 11:15. Yeah. That's a huge difference.
The one thing, the only negative as a fan for the pitch clock and the way that this game is going to be paced, is for those fans that are actually at the game. those fans that are at the game where they're trying to run to the bathroom or go get a drink, or like, food, or it's stuff that doesn't come down through the aisles. You're gonna be upstairs and you might miss 3 innings.
Yeah, shit.
You know?
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
So-
You get inside and you get in the beer line. You can miss. You're right. An inning, 2 innings. You have no idea.
Depending on how long the line is.
Yeah, so I think they talked about that because that was a thing, right? That's a thing. Customers, you are a customer to the organization. Right. You pay for the ticket. You're paying for the food. You're paying for the beer, whatever. So Major League Baseball is requiring teams to put more TVs up around the stadium. So I know that it's not necessarily this way at Great American anymore, but I remember when Great American first opened, there'd be one TV and it would be like right in the, like kind of where the barrier is and you're teetering around trying to find the game. There's going to be TVs blasted all over the stadium now because that's a part of the experience, right? Like, you and I know that when you get in, you get your ticket, it scans in. The first place you go when you walk into Great American is you walk to the left and you get in the draft beer line, or you walk to the right and you go to the UDF store and you get 2 tall boys. That's the method of walking into a game. So, now when you walk into that UDF, there should be a TV in the corner of the kiosk, whatever you want to call it, where you can actually watch the game and you're not missing anything.
Absolutely.
So I think that's certainly a thing. Like, ticket prices for baseball have never been higher. And why would, I'm sure people will say, like, well, why would I pay $50 for a ticket when if I want to go get a beer, I miss an inning of live action, whereas before it would be maybe a 2/3 of an inning or a half an inning, whatever. But I think that's a small price to pay to be able to make this a family experience again. I think that's kind of the centrifugal force of the pitch clock is that baseball used to be for us, right? I went to a lot of games with my grandmother and grandfather because they lived in Clifton. So it was 10 minutes to go to the stadium. It was a family experience to go to a game and sit down and watch and enjoy it. But the thing that sucked is if it was a school night, right? It's 9:30. It's the bottom of the 5th inning.
Like you're not getting out of there until like 12:30, 1 o'clock.
So you have 2 options. Dad's either saying, hey, we got to get out of here. Sorry, you're going to miss the rest of the game. Let's listen to it on the radio, which it was fine then. It was Marty and Joe. So it was a little bit different experience. But, for a lot of kids, if it's your first game, what do you want to say? Like, oh, my dad told me the first game I went to, we had to leave in the bottom of the 5th inning because it took 2 hours to get there.
Just to get there.
Yeah. So I think this kind of alleviates some of that. It kind of creates the family culture again that can be sprung from less bullshit. Let's just call it what it is. Baseball has a lot of bullshit in it. There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of time killing. There's a lot of controlling tempo, and this really alleviates a lot of it. So I think for some pitchers, you're going to see them struggle. Amir Garrett is another good example of that. When he was at his peak with the Reds, he's a guy that likes to take a lot of time between pitches. It's just a thing you're going to have to overcome, or you're going to have to make way for the new guys that are kind of come in and take care of business.
So one thing I maybe I just didn't see, or maybe it's not a thing, but are they going to increase the time between innings, or is it just going to be like that same standard? You get, what is it?
A couple minutes,
like 2 minutes.
2.5 minutes at the max.
Minutes.
So they're going to make, they're going to make exceptions for catcher makes the last out. Any like unique scenarios like that, there's more time, but it's basically like
pads on and...
hey, you got 2 minutes between innings. Let's get this thing going. Because again, the biggest thing that came from the fan base was the game's too long. It takes too long to watch a baseball game, and 29 minutes is a long time, dude. That's a lot of time shaved off. And if it's a tight game and it goes into extras and it's not 4 hours and it's 3.5 hours, that's a big difference.
Yeah, and that's electric start to finish. I mean, you got to think football is 1 to 4, 3 hours.
Yeah.
And baseball, you get a game that starts at 7:15. You're probably not walking out of there until midnight. So that's almost 5 hours.
Yeah, depending on how long the game takes, right? So I mean,
that's a whole day.
Yeah, I mean, I've been at pitching duels where it's 2-1 and it takes 2 hours and 45 minutes. You're like, oh shit, we just sat down. The game's almost over. I've also been to games, right? I think of the game we went to for Nick's bachelor party.
Oh my God.
We walked in late and it was still the top of the first inning. And when I say we walked in late, I think the game started at 4:00. We walked in at 4:45.
Yeah.
It was the top, or the bottom of the first inning was just starting. And we left when there was still time left in the game. I think we left in the bottom of the
Holy Grail,
inning.
just absolutely pounding beers.
Yeah, and we left before the game was over, and we still didn't get back to Fairfield until almost 8:00. And the game was ending as we were driving. We were off of 275 by the time the game finished.
Yeah, and that's
what
45-minute
this
drive.
alleviates. Yeah, that's what this alleviates, and I think that's important because we talked about it a lot at the beginning of this podcast. You and I share a very, very similar viewpoint on the executive leadership of Major League Baseball right now, not connecting to the core of the community, which is fans in our age range, right? And then not connecting with the next generation of fan, or not connecting with the casual fan anymore. I think that's a big thing. It used to be when we were even when we were in college, like it was cool to like on a Wednesday afternoon to skip class and then go to a gentleman's special, right? Yeah, the lunch, the businessman special.
Businessman special at 1:15 or 12 o'clock, whatever time that game started.
Yeah, I think baseball wants to get back to that. I mean, you can't. If your team's bad, you're going to have less asses in the seats, right? It is what it is. Or you get in a scenario that the Reds were in last year where, Phil Castellini shits the bed on national TV and you lose asses in the seats. But, this hopefully brings some of it back. That's my big thing. I think it does.
That still stings. And that was over a year ago. It still pisses me off.
Well, you're coming up on, it'll be, let's see, the season started late last year, so it's like mid-May when that happened, somewhere in that ballpark.
Oh, that's right, the lockout. I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, we won't beat a dead horse here. All right, well, let's move on to, I think. I know the pitch clock is going to be huge and it's going to be the biggest impact, but I think the shift is going to have a bigger impact on just the overall quality of the game.
Yeah. Before we get into it. Corey had a really nice compliment for my sweatshirt. If you guys didn't see, we officially have live merch. Link is in the chat. If you use the code RTS09 at checkout, you get 10% off your purchase.
Hails to the yeah. Yep, so, I'm waiting on mine. I gotta get my paycheck in tomorrow, and then I'm gonna be ordering my stuff.
I got we did a family shopping trip, if you will. Mary ended up getting a darker gray Rally Towel Sports sweatshirt. Nice. And then I got obviously the dad hat with the logo. You could see it. You see a little dad hat action there and a little logo.
Yeah, I like the way the size turned out there too.
Yeah,
it turned out to be a good size.
Yeah, so I got the sweatshirt, the hat, and there's also sweatpants. And I'll tell you, as a gym goer, they're a comfortable pair of sweatpants, casual or performance. I don't know what the fuck you want to call that. I did a leg day in them last week, and I didn't split the crotch in them, so I'm really proud of that. I think that attests to the quality of the fabric.
I've got 3 pairs of them on my gaming page, and they're great. I wear them all like at least once a week. Yeah. They're my favorite sweatpants. Obviously, I wear this thing probably 3-4 days a week. This is my favorite hoodie. This is the more expensive one. This is the embroidered one. And we've got the beautiful RTS logo on it. I will be getting that because I want to wear that. It's a beautiful hoodie. The quality's great. I've had this thing for almost a year, and it's held up very nice. I'm going to be getting the embroidered shorts, so I'll let you know how those are. Cool. And then I wanted to mix it up and get some different things than you guys got so we can kind of test it all out. And I'll be getting the flat bill hat, and so you guys can see how that looks too.
Yeah, and I think the big thing that all 4 of us agreed on when we talked about putting merch together was that we wanted to give the community the right product, right? And not just put out merch to say that we have merch. So, thank you for having this connection already with this company through your gaming stuff. And I could like I said, I could attest it's good quality stuff. It's not you wear it once and you got a hole in the armpit or something,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm a bigger dude. That's a big thing for me, is like I want to be able to move around and not rip my shit. So it's good quality product. I look forward to continuing to, release new merchandise and kind of change our dynamic on there too.
Yep. I wear it. I have at least one of those articles of clothing on at least every day of the week. Whether it's the sweatshirt, the hoodie,
my daily,
the hat, whatever it is, I'm wearing something. It's good stuff. This is a champion hoodie. So it's good quality stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. RTS09, 10% discount code. Go check it out. We got some good stuff on there for you too. We got some sandals, we got stickers, we got some cheaper things. If you don't want to go with the clothing, you can get a sticker and throw it on your laptop or your computer, or one of your what do you call those, Yetis? You can do whatever you want with them. So good stuff.
Yep. Good stuff for sure. Sorry, I wanted to make sure we got the quick plug in.
Love it. But yeah, the shift. The big thing about the shift, I'm excited, and I wish this would have happened earlier, because I think there's a lot of careers that kind of got ruined by the shift.
I agree.
I think we lost a lot of good baseball because of it, but I'm interested to hear the details on it, because I know there's a couple nuances to the shift and where you have to position yourself to not get called for the penalty. But also, who do you think is going to thrive the most under this new rule?
So the rule is that imagine that there is a first down marker down the center of a baseball diamond, right? The faux yellow marker. The way that it works is that there has to be two infielders on each side of that yellow marker, right? So whereas before, when you would shift, depending on if you're Joey Gallo and all four of them go to that side, you cannot do that, right? It's two infielders on each side of second base. Where you position yourself within that side doesn't matter. If you want to have two people right next to each other, you could certainly do that. Or if you want to stagger them, you can. But the rule with that is feet have to be on the dirt. So it doesn't mean that your whole foot has to be, the whole entire cleat has to be in the dirt, but there has to be some of the cleat that has to be in the dirt when you create any sort of motion, right? The Major League Baseball is calling this motion. And then the outfield can shift around too. So I want to make sure I get the outfield part right, because that's a little bit different.
So from what I understood, as far as the infielders go, you can't have 1 foot off. Both feet have to be on the ground as the ball's being pitched.
Yeah.
Once it's out of his hand, then they can move, right?
Yes. So, but they still can't cross that. They can't cross the invisible line
until the ball's in play.
Right. Yeah. It has to be contact made from the bat for them to make that adjustment. So if there's a situation where, the ball's getting pitched and the shortstop tries to run to the other side of second base, plays dead. No matter what happens, strikeout, doesn't matter, plays dead. Go back to the other side. We're going to run it back. Right. So the outfield, so we'll call it the parameter of the outfield. It's a 95-foot radius that is drawn from the rubber, right? The pitching rubber.
Okay.
And that's and the outfielders have to be positioned in a way where it can't be more than two outfielders on one side of the rubber or one side of the fence either, or the magical line either. So you can have the center fielder shift over, but the left fielder can't shift over to the same side. So the left fielder can move, right? And the center fielder can move towards right center, but that left fielder has to stay on this side of the rubber. Does that make sense?
So they all basically, so what I would say is you're just splitting the outfield up into 3 different sections, and they each have, like, prior to contact, they have a section of the outfield that they can move to and limits that they have, but they can't cross those barriers. So basically you're just split it up. Like, there's a line like down left center, there's a line down right center, and then, they can't cross, or vice versa.
So technically,
that's going to be hard to police.
Yeah. So technically, the outfielders, you could still you can have them move around, but they can't be all on the same side. But you can have an outfielder shift forward into the infield, but they can't be on the dirt, right? They can create that fifth infielder position, like if you're playing softball and you throw that person kind of in short center field, that position can exist in the outfield now. So I think that's where the big left-handed pull hitter still has that. They shift the left fielder into that center field spot. That's
so you can do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but, I'm interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah. So here's the way that the rule works, right? So I said that if it's a negative action, right, and if it's a strikeout and there's a shift infraction, the play's dead, right? It goes back. But say it's a home run and there's a shift infraction, the offensive team can say, no, I just want to keep the home run, and the shift infraction goes away.
So they have the choice.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a free play in football.
Exactly. It's exactly like that. Yeah. So if you hit if I'm Carlos Santana and there's a shift infraction and he sees a shift infraction and he lays one down the third base line and he's safe, you just take your base, right? You take the free base. But if I'm Carlos Santana and they do this shift and I hit a rocket down the first baseline and the shortstop, or if I'm in in that kind of right center field window and the third baseman catches it, I'm running it back. Right. So there is the opportunity. There is the opportunity to do that because we've seen that a lot with the shift. We've seen a lot of guys who make this really substantial contact and hit it into right field on one hop, and the third baseman's playing in short right field, or the second baseman's basically playing right field and the shortstop's playing short right field. I mean, how many times did we see Jay Bruce do that in his career?
Oh, so many.
So I think that's the big thing that this is taking away. Again, how this kind of roots into why the game needed to be changed. There's a lot of outs, right? There's a lot of unnecessary outs. That's what baseball is calling those, unnecessary outs, where guys are hitting the ball over 95 miles an hour and creating an out. That percentage went up like 4 or 5 times since the shift. So just imagine a pitch coming in at 90 and exiting at 97 to 100, which was the average exit velo for Joey Gallo his last year in Texas, and he still hit 240. That's a problem. That's a real problem.
I think you're gonna see you just brought it up. It's a great point. You're gonna see averages go up, number one, but number two, you're gonna see some quality hitting. And I think the most exciting thing is you're gonna see some fucking incredible plays from the defense, because they're not just gonna be these cake plays where you've got the second baseman halfway out into right field and he's making like you said, a ball that's came off the bat at 97 plus 100 plus, gets out to him so fast he's got plenty of time to get it over to first. Web gems are back. Yeah, web gems are back. It's gonna be
a big deal. Yeah, that's
absolutely.
a big deal. It's been a long time since we've seen the second baseman consistently make really big plays, right? I think a guy like Jonathan India always comes to my mind. He's an excellent defensive second baseman. In fact, I think he's the best defensive second baseman in baseball right now. And he makes all these really good plays all the time because the Reds don't really feed it. They never really fed into the shift that much. But now there's going to be all these young guys that are coming up that are trying to impact their team somehow. It's much easier to be a great defender than it is to be an immediate great hitter. And confidence, breeds excellence in it, and baseball, especially when your confidence is high, that angel and demon the demon gets a little bit smaller when you're at the dish because you don't feel like you're outside of your head.
You're contributing.
And you get out of your head when you're doing well, right? It is what it is. It's a reason. There's a reason why the pitchers don't hit very often, is because when a pitcher's pitching really well, then he has to go up to the plate and try to swing 3 times. He's not thinking about doing that really well. But for a hitter, right, or for a position player, if you're playing in the field exceptionally well, that confidence rolls into your at bat because it's your job. Yeah. So I think you're going to see. I like the motion that it's going to be more web gems. I agree with you. I think we've watched the shortstop position become a power hitter and not an infielder, and that makes me a little sad. because we grew up with some really, really great defensive shortstops that made a lot of wedge ins, that made a lot of impact plays. That doesn't happen as much anymore because great shortstops are becoming outfielders because you needed 9 guys that could hit 30 plus home runs because that was the only way that you could score. So I think some of that kind of fades away too. The positional player comes back into status a little bit more if you're a smaller market team. Like
you're going to see guys like Juan Castro have a career again.
Yeah,
because
sure.
defense is going to be so important, and that like
it's
Lord knows the man was a fucking liability at the dish, but
sure.
He was an excellent defender, and that's the reason why he made his way in the MLB is because he could play defense, and that's important, especially in that middle infield where you need to consistently turn those double plays, and have that length. Guys like a young A-Rod and, obviously Cal Ripken throughout his whole career. You've got, Vizquel and like so many other great middle infielders that we haven't had in the last 10 years because you haven't needed to be good. You just needed to be in the right spot and be able to get in front of a ball, which quite a few people can do.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm excited to see. I'm just excited to see good hitting, good fundamental hitting pay off again. That's the big thing for me is if you're getting pounded with fastballs inside, it's not easy to say, I'll just inside out it. It doesn't work that way.
No,
it's not that easy. It's not that simple. There's a lot of people that just say, beat the shift. We'll beat the shift. It's not that easy. When a pitcher has studied how to throw to you for the last couple of years and they face you, if you're in your division, right, and you're let's say you're Adam Wainwright and you're facing Joey Votto 12 times a year. You know exactly how to pitch to Joey Votto, right? You always do because you've been pitching against him for well over a decade.
Absolutely.
And that's their job. And it's not simple to be like, all right, well, they're throwing me inside. I'll just try to inside out it. Well, you lose exit velocity off the bat because you're likely not getting you're not getting full extension, so you're not getting the right part of the barrel on the ball. And then you're slowing down your hands to try to create contact to a different direction that it's not supposed to go. So you're automatically setting you're more likely to get out, right?
Absolutely.
That's the gist of it. And it's going to be less of that. People will be rewarded for hitting the ball hard again. I think that's important.
What up, Ryan? Good evening, sir. For those of you that are in here and watching, we're kind of taking it back old school today, getting back to our roots and talking baseball. If you guys have anything, questions, comments, thoughts, throw them in the chat. We'll be more than happy to discuss and tackle anything that you guys want to talk about, even if it's outside of baseball. We've already covered the pitch clock. We've gotten into the shift a little bit. Todd, I am interested to Ryan said F the pitch clock. Ryan, I think you're going to enjoy the pitch clock, man. I think you just need to give it a chance.
I agree.
But as far as the shift is concerned, who do you think is going to have who's going to have the best year come with this shift, being gone? Who do you think is going to be impacted the most?
Man.
Preseason prediction.
Obviously, I think somebody
no shot
benefits is Joey Gallo, right? That's
for sure.
That's an easy one. Kyle Schwarber. That's somebody I look forward to seeing.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
Go against that. I mean, I brought up Carlos Santana. I think he's a guy. He gets shifted a ton. A young guy that I think that I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what he could do without the shift on is Carson Kelly from the Arizona Diamondbacks. He gets shifted like almost 40% of his at bats, and for a catcher, the only other person that gets shifted more than that is Salvador Perez. So, and Salvador Perez, what did he do with his game? He became He became a home run hitter, right?
Right.
Salvador Perez, but he spent the first decade of his career being a above average contact hitter and a great defensive catcher. And as he's transitioned into his career and started getting shifted more, now he hits 35 home runs a season. He's a DH now, so I guess it's a little different. But
right,
just Schwarber, right? I mean, and there's more shifts for lefties. Carp's saying it too. They do shift to lefties more because most left-handed hitters that they are just a more inclined to be power hitting. That's just the way that it is. It's usually bigger guys that are hitting from the left side only that aren't switch hitters. But there's a few guys that bat from the right. Alex Bregman, he gets a lot of shifts based on kind of the position of his stance.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up now here. There's some statistics on ground balls on shift data, and Corey Seager has the lowest batting average. There's Seager, Ohtani, Matt Olson, Kyle Tucker, Charlie Blackmon. I mean, mostly all left-handed hitting guys.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, lefties I think have the biggest benefit, the most to gain, from this. Lefties drop ball. I mean, you gotta. I'm a right-handed. I'm right-handed for most everything that I do. I can use my left hand on the basketball court. That's really about the extent of my ambidexterity, if you want. That's what you want to call it. But the left-handed swing is just much prettier than the right-handed swing. There's just I don't know what it is. I don't know why it looks so much better from the left side of the plate than the right side, but left-handers just have better swings.
Yeah, I mean, at least from my experience of being a left-handed hitter, and you got to remember that I was less than average of a hitter in my playing career as I got older.
You still drop nukes.
I had a few, but I was kind of all or nothing. I didn't hit as often, so it was really all or nothing when I took to the plate. But a lot of pitches that right-handed hitters throw are going away from you as a left-handed hitter, so it's much easier to see the ball going away. Right, if I'm hitting left-handed and this is a two-seam fastball and I'm on this side of the dish and it's going into your bat, right? So it's much easier to create the contact your way. Whereas a right-hander, you're forcing your hands into them. Yeah, you're forcing your hands to the ball a little bit sooner.
So you got to turn. You got to get your hand. You got to get your hands to the quicker.
The action to the ball is a little bit different. Look, Carp even said it too. Carp was a better overall baseball player than I was. I will give him credit. When that dude got on the mound, he was nasty. He threw some heat, but he is right though. When you're as a right-handed pitcher too, it's hard. It was hard for me to throw to big lefties because I had a lot of natural away movement on every pitch that I threw, excluding like a curveball or a slider or whatever. But even my circle changeup had a lot of down and away movement. So if I left that thing up, I was fucked, right? There was nope. It was easy contact because
if you missed your spot, it was getting sent over the fence or hit really fucking hard.
Yeah, and your eyes naturally see movement away better than things coming towards you, right? Like when you get beamed, it's usually a pitch that's coming in your direction, at your direction, right? It's not tailing away as it's hitting you; it's coming at you as you're doing it. So, it's just that's the facts of science of baseball. It's just easier to see the ball from a righty throwing to a lefty than it is a righty to a righty. You have more time to see the ball too as a lefty because where the hand placement is versus where you are in the batter's box.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I wish I could. I was just such a contact hitter, man. I never hit for power. I hit for average. That was who I was as a baseball player, and I got into a couple every now and then, but it just. Yeah, I was much more of a contact hitter and just getting the ball out there, singles, doubles.
me too. Until I got into high school, and then I went from like 195 pounds to 230 pounds, and that changes when your body changes. The body composition changes. The power comes with it a little bit. I'm a slow hands guy too, right? As a hitter, I'm not a fast hands guy. A lot of everything that I did was just based off of me making good contact. And it had to be fading away because I had
like you're swinging a tree trunk. It's just
yeah. It was. I was never historically great at softball either because the long swing in softball doesn't mean shit.
No, you gotta have a quick bat.
Yeah, so it was never my thing. My dad was an excellent hitting coach to me. He taught me 1,000 different ways to swing shorter, and I could never put that into action.
Yeah, I mean, I have quick hands. You know, that was the best thing that I could ever do was just get my hands to the zone quick and put a good bat on the ball and take it the opposite way. That was really what I was good at. But that was about the extent of it. Other than that, I just stuck with basketball and shooting threes. So,
Carp, thank you for the compliments, brother. You got to see he got to see a couple
swings.
He got to see a couple though. Like the last couple summers that I played, I wasn't taking it quite as serious as I was before that. So I got to hit a lot more and I swung a lot harder.
Fuck yeah, you did.
A lot harder. Yeah. Because what did I have? I wasn't going to play in college. What did I have to lose?
Nothing.
Exactly. So I swung as
absolutely
hard as I could.
Nothing.
Yeah. So I do miss that a little bit. We got to go to the cages last year for my birthday. That was a
really good cool. Man, we were so sore after.
Oh my god. It's horrible. I
forgot how much like shape you have to be in to swing a baseball bat.
Yeah. And the guy that was working there said the truest thing I've ever heard about baseball. Hitting a baseball is really fucking hard. And you and I just looked at him and went, yeah, it is.
There's no argument to that statement. There's not a single word that was misplaced. Like that is just fucking facts.
Yeah.
Ryan told my kids this year, if your coach ever told you to swing down on the ball, they don't know what they're talking about. We drop bombs around here.
Yeah. If they're still teaching kids to swing like this instead of swinging
and chop down at the ball,
then that's just that person has a lot of money and they can have their own baseball facility because that's never been right. You tell me any hitter from any side of the ball that swings like that had a successful career, and I'll give you $100.
Yeah, I mean, when you're seeing guys like, especially when they analyze it, you know, it's that perfect slanted line where like you're lined up from here, and that bat is level. It's not here. It's not coming up. It's coming right through the zone level. Your hands are quick, and you're fucking dropping bombs. Swinging down the ball is the biggest fucking just piece of bullshit advice that you could ever have swinging a baseball bat.
Carp, you and I both know that man, by the time he was coaching us, I think he was 100. So I'm not sure if he even knew where he was all the time when he was coaching. So
that's probably factual.
He was fucking terrible. He's the worst coach I've ever had in my whole life. Seriously. Ever. And I played for, I don't know, including high school, let's call it 8 different teams in my life, including football, including basketball. It's the worst coach I've ever had. And I had a lot of dads coach me in that lifetime too. He was still the worst.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's hit the last portion of these rule changes here, which are the larger bases, which I don't think I could give a flying fuck less about what size the bases are. But Todd, tell us the, you know, why they changed it, what it's supposed to do to the game, and what we're gonna see.
Yeah, so it's a 3-inch extension all the way around so instead of a 12-inch base, let's call it the diameter, it's now 15. It shaves off.
I thought it went 15 to 18.
Or yeah, 15 to 18. Sorry, I no. Well, let me double check that because I think it is 12 and a half.
Hold the phone, Cot. She's got a cannon. All right, let's look here. Pitch timer, shift restrictions, bases. Each side, instead of the traditional 15 inches on each side,
it's 18.
The bases are now 18.
Yeah. Okay, so all that is basically so the big part is player safety, right?
I can get behind that. Broken
ankles, bang plays. Guys aren't stepping on each other's feet anymore. There's a lot of injuries on bang plays. I think you will see from this more plays going to the runner, right? Tie going to the runner. It actually is going to the runner now. It's not just a bang play.
Yeah, because they're not having to slow down and like stop on that, you know, that run to first base because they're not going to be, you know, worried about like Manny Machado did, where he caught the edge of a base and tore his entire knee apart. I'll never unsee that.
Nope, it was horrible. The biggest thing
Absolutely
I've seen from people, the biggest thing I've seen from people saying that more stolen bases are going to happen. Good. If that's the case, if you get an extra, I don't know, let's call it a half a second, because the average pop time in baseball now is less than 2 seconds. So
That's
pop time,
that's so good.
Pop time referring from catch to hand, ball to hand transition to second base. JT Realmuto throws it in less than 1.9 seconds. He averages 1.87 seconds to second base.
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Because I'm not taking anything away from Ricky Henderson, but I would be curious to see how many catchers had a sub-2 pop time when he was stealing bases.
Well, it used to be like 1 or 2, right? There wasn't a ton of them, right? Mike Piazza is a prime example. Mike Piazza was one of the worst defensive catchers. Had a 2.2 second pop time.
Yeah,
that was what was happening in the guys like Yadier Molina and Realmuto and those guys. They didn't start coming on until the 2000s, right? So there wasn't a lot of guys that were just. And if you were like the Matheny's and the Osmuses and those guys, those were anomalies of the game because they were such great defensive catchers that they couldn't hit for shit. But you kept them on the field because they had that sub-2 pop time. But that's the expectation for a catcher at the major league level. They have to get it because let's just face the facts. There's less stolen bases, right? So here, let me give you the stat here.
While you're pulling that up, Carp said he thinks the pitch clock will help stolen bases. So I want to dig into that here in a minute, but go ahead with that stat.
So 2018, there were, let's call it 21,900 stolen base attempts, 10,200 caught stealing. 2019 was 22 and 10-3. 21 was 20,000 stolen base attempts with 7,000 people being caught. And then 22, right? So this is where I think more stolen bases happen. Almost 25,000 attempts and only 8,000 runners caught stealing. So I think that the base extension, that number gets
so basically 17,000 total stolen bases. So it's gone up. It continues to go up.
Yeah. So I think teams will play to that. I think you're going to see a lot more situational stealing. That's something that's changed a lot in baseball. A lot of times you couldn't get to that scenario because it was either double home runner out. There wasn't a lot of stealing. So now that the shift doesn't happen, a lot of guys are getting seeing eye singles again. Guys with above average speed, the average to above average speed, get the right jump, get to second base a little bit sooner. But it's all good for baseball. That doesn't slow it down. That doesn't change it. It just brings back the fundamentals of the game back to the game itself, right? And at the end of the day, if I'm not watching Trey Turner or Whit Merrifield injure their hands or their feet stealing a base, I'm 110% here for it.
Yeah.
Because those guys need to be healthy. A guy like Trey Turner is a superstar of the game, and he needs to be healthy and play 162 games a year. I don't want to see him miss 40 games because he broke his hand sliding into second on a sweeping slide where he didn't have enough space to make the sweeping slide happen. So I'm here for that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would even go as far at first base to have that extra base, out there. So they're not I don't care because first base, who gives a shit? I think the only thing, is balls down the line that would create complications there. But
it's
outside
fine.
of that,
it's fine where it is now.
Yeah, I think the 18 inches, good. I think that will suffice. I think it's, I hope that there's going to be healthier players long term because that's the worst thing ever. When you plan to go to a game and you buy tickets and then they get hurt because of something stupid and they're not playing. Yeah,
and it's not going to be like Little League Baseball where you get on and you steal second and third in 2 pitches. It's not. This doesn't do that, right? That's the argument that people make, like, "Oh, it's Little League Baseball. You're going to steal in 2 pitch." No, because the guy behind the pitcher still throwing in the mid to high 90s. The average fastball is almost 96 miles an hour now. Let that sink in. And then you have a sub-2 pop time from a catcher.
You realize how fast you got to be to steal a base in the majors?
Yeah. And it's not always about speed either. It's about the quality of the jump. Yeah, it's timing or the jump, right? And guys are going to have to work on that again. I've just seen a lot of guys just take a 2-step lead off of first base and never be a threat. I'd love to see Kyle Schwarber be a threat to steal a base again. You know what I mean? He's a guy that has the ability to do it, but why would he? Why would you put yourself at that risk? So
yeah, no, I mean, I think Hart makes a good point though. I think the pitch timer is gonna create the ability for players to get a better jump and time it better because the pitchers are now on a clock. And like they have to, so like it's getting to the point where if it gets down to like 3 seconds, you can go.
Yeah.
Because they have to get in their motion and start. So they're either gonna, and there's a limit for pickoff moves as well. You can only do 2 per at bat.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things that are changing, and we're gonna have to pay attention, as baseball fans to the rules. And but I'm excited overall. I like the changes. I think it's gonna make the game a little bit better to watch on TV as well. I love baseball, and sometimes it's really tough to watch on TV if you've got a really boring ass game, where there's not a lot going on. It gets sloppy, and then there's people that get out. It's just long for no reason, and so I think it's going to be a good thing overall, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I think I understand Carp's kind of perspective on the pitch clock thing being a negative thing, because as also a former pitcher myself, I think I could see being in that role being really frustrated and it being the thing that impacts the game, right? We've already seen it happen, but
yeah.
I think once players get acclimated to it, I think you'll see that few and far less. I am really interested to see the first time it actually matters in a regular season game. Yeah. And what happens if it happens in September and it's a clinching game.
Yeah, I mean, if I had it my way, which obviously I don't, because I'm not Rob Manfred, but I think at the end of the day, like in the 9th inning, in a situation like that, like clock's off. Like 9th inning, like turn it off. Like you've gotten this far. The pace of plays is you've gotten to that point. Like let's just dial it back. Let's make sure that this doesn't impact the outcome of the game in the 9th.
I could see that addendum happening soon too. I really could, because I think you're right. Because if this starts deciding a lot of games, you're gonna piss more people off. You're gonna piss the players off too, which you don't want that.
Yeah.
As an owner and as an organization, you don't want your players pissed off in the season. And
there's also nothing better than that 9th inning drama that kind of drags out a little bit. And you're like sitting there in between pitches. You're like, fuck, man. All right. He's 3-1. Like, come on, man. Like don't swing at shit.
Yeah.
Get your pitch.
Yeah. You have less time to prepare for that now.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting, but yeah, I think I need to see it in a real regular season game where it matters, and I need to see player and coach reaction to it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm interested to see how it goes, and we'll have it. I mean, baseball's going to be here before we know it. Obviously
it's here, baby.
Yeah, I mean regular season, but yeah, I mean it's
here,
already
baby.
Here.
We out here.
It's great, and I'm excited. Votto's been preparing for this. So, yeah, I saw that TikTok where he just literally stood in the box the entire time, didn't move, didn't reset, nothing. That was beautiful. Votto.
I'll be really sad. I'll be really sad when he retires.
Me too, man. He's his tweet goes in the like Twitter Hall of Fame, about the what's going to happen this season.
Yep.
The aliens. That was amazing.
He's a legend, dude. I'll be really sad when he's gone from the game.
Okay, I've got a little baseball trivia for Todd.
Oh, all right. Let me make sure my mind's right here.
Okay, I think you'll breeze through this one. Okay, so this is as of last year, so I already kind of gave away some things. It's active players with the most recorded hits all time, top 10. Active players.
So obviously Pujols will be in there.
Yep.
Miguel Cabrera.
Yep, you got 1 and 2 in the correct order.
Yadier Molina.
Yadi's 4.
Joey Votto.
He is 5.
Nelson Cruz.
He is 6. You've only missed
Andrews.
3. Everything else is in this. Elvis Andrews is 7. Oh my god. Kutch is 8. Are you fucking reading the list?
No. Let's see. I'm just thinking of old guys that are still playing. I said Nelson Cruz, right?
Yeah, you've got 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8. You've only
Okay.
missed one, and everything else has been in order from top to bottom. That's freaking insane.
So technically, Robinson Cano is still active, so he's on the list, right? Somewhere.
Number 3.
Freddie Freeman.
Number 10. You're missing one. This is too easy. This was
Evan
too easy.
Longoria. Is it Evan Longoria?
Evan Longoria is 11.
Paul Goldschmidt.
He's 13.
Who am I not thinking of?
You definitely
Is it Machado?
Nope. You definitely know who this person is.
Anthony Rizzo?
Nope. And I will tell you this, he is still active.
Jose Abreu?
No.
Jose Altuve. That's got to be Altuve. Yeah.
Altuve. Dude, you got 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. You missed and then you went back for 3, and then that was insane. I literally thought you were just reading it off the fucking paper.
No.
It's just, you're unbelievable.
Well, it's easy though, because you got to every so at least the first 6 guys I listed are like almost 40, right?
True.
So Pujols is retired at 42. Miguel Cabrera is 40. Yadier Molina's 40.
I'll have to do some research for next week, Chad. I gotta really test this motherfucker. That was too easy.
And honestly, I'll explain my thought process, right?
Please do, because every time I roll one of these out, I think you're gonna at least struggle with it a little bit, and then you just fucking rip them off, and it pisses me off.
So sorry. Well, so my head automatically goes to who's active, that's played for a long time, that is like an all-star, right? Like year-over-year all-star. So that knocks out Pujols, that knocks out Miggy, that knocks out Yadier, that knocks out it should have knocked out Altuve for me, but it didn't. But like Freddie and Votto, right? Votto's a guy that's had 200 hits multiple times. So I just kind of, it's like, all right, he's been around for 14 years. He's got to be at least in the top 12. But Freeman's the one that's interesting though. I threw him out as like my Hail Mary. I can't believe how many hits does he have then?
Oh shit, I already closed it. I'll pull it back.
Oh shit. I'm looking at he's got 1900 hits already.
Yeah. Yeah, it was close to
13 years. So he'd have to play for another 8 years to get to 3,000. And that's 8 years of like big production. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shit, he almost had 200 hits last year. Good for him.
Yes, sir.
That was good. Thank you for doing that. Here's the thing.
I thought it was a good list.
That is a good list. That's how my brain works, bro. Here's the thing is I've probably read that list at some point in time, right? In the last year or 2 years. And I just subconsciously just had it still rolling around in the brain. But man, I'm trying to think of it. Let me see. Next week you'll have to give me
I'm gonna challenge you. I'm gonna find some ridiculous stat line.
Next week maybe you should grab a pitching one. Those are harder.
I can definitely do that.
Pitching lists are harder to get through because there's a lot of guys that are still in the game that are like older than us, which is fucking old in baseball now, which is crazy. That are still kicking it as like, short relievers or like sub and spot starters or whatever.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
I'll throw another. I got one right here.
All right.
I think this is too easy. I think you'll roll through it. No, I'm not going to do this. This is going to be too easy.
Well, just do it now. You've already said it.
All right. Active wins leaders. Go.
Verlander.
Number 1.
Scherzer.
3.
Greinke.
2. So you got 1
Kershaw,
through 4,
Wainwright,
5,
Hamels,
6,
David Price,
7. Oh my god! You got 1 out of
uh,
order.
Garrett Cole,
He's 10.
Mad Bum.
He's 9. You're missing 8.
Oh, it's gotta be Cueto then, right?
Yeah. See, I told you, too easy.
Yeah.
Too
Cueto,
easy.
bro, Cueto's been dominating baseball for a really long time.
God, that surprised me though. I would have never thought Cueto because you don't think that he's been there that long and like
dude, he's been
at that
you gotta
high of a
think
level.
he's been pitching since the mid 2000s. He was in the rotation with like Aaron Harang at one point in time. You got to remember that. He was even before Latos was on the
that's what I'm saying.
That was like it was like Volquez, Harang,
wow,
Cueto. I'm probably missing somebody important in that rotation too, but yeah, that he was. You got to remember early on with the Reds, he was winning 13 to 15 games a year, dude. And when he went to the year the Royals won the World Series, he was on the Royals. I think he won 16 or 17 games.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, that's true. You just forget how long he's been playing. All right, I'll do one more. Active leaders for saves.
Kimbrel,
1.
Kenley Jansen,
2.
Chapman,
3.
Greg Holland,
5.
Edwin Diaz,
6.
Mark Melancon,
4.
Rysel,
8.
Sergio Romo.
No. He is 11.
Josh Hader.
12.
The fuck?
There's one that you should get, and there's 2 other ones that I think you'll struggle with.
Did I say Greg Holland?
You said Kimbrel, Jansen, Chapman, Melancon, Holland, Diaz, and Iglesias.
David Robertson.
Yep, tied with Rizal Iglesias for 8th.
All right,
You're missing 7 and 10. 7 is 159 and 10 is 154.
Zach Britton has to be one of them.
He's 10.
Liam Hendricks?
No, sir.
Ken Giles?
Nope.
Brad Hand?
Nope.
Trevor Rosenthal?
Nope. You're Rosenthal's 12. Hand is 14. Giles is 16.
Fuck.
It's a tough one. I don't know if I would get it. Currently rostered up with the Rockies.
The Rock? Ugh.
He's played for the Rockies and the Rays.
Oh, Alex Colomé.
There you go.
I was gonna say there's never been a closer on the Rockies other than Houston Street that had any kind of success ever.
Yeah,
it's fucking impossible.
It's got 159. Yep.
Good for him, bro. That's pretty damn good for a guy that spent a lot of time with bad Tampa teams too.
I would say that was definitely the toughest one on the list, but I mean, still you're flying through those. I might have to go to some older stats.
Oh
really,
shit, dude.
Really test you.
Yeah, that'll be hard. You get me like into the early 90s and going that route, I'll really struggle there.
Okay. Well, I want to keep it fun. I don't want to.
No, I like it. You're testing my brain again. I love it.
You're getting the brain moving.
Yeah, that was great. I think that's a podcast, right?
Yeah, I think that's a wrap. But no, man, good show. Enjoyed that, Ryan. Thanks for swinging through and participating as much as you have, man. That's
right.
It's fun to talk baseball, baby.
Every Thursday, Ryan, we're back on the baseball podcast, man. We're gonna get back to making our all-time lists again. That's gonna be a part of it. I think my idea for next week is let's make a preseason first team NL and AL list, maybe something along those lines, and we can just do a first team list.
Love it.
For each of us, kind of get back into that. We'll get into prospects again. That's something I really, really like doing, is getting into the prospects of the game. We'll talk about the World Baseball Classic. That's coming up really, really soon. I'm really fucking excited for the World Baseball Classic. I'll be one of those weird dudes that gets up at 3:30 in the morning to watch Taiwan and whoever play each other. But yeah, dude, baseball's here. It's going to be great. We're going to try to give you guys some unique perspectives on things. We're going to get back into the historical stuff a little bit again. That's something that Bobby and I do really well on. And, I think the big thing I'll say it again, we've said it a bunch, is that this comes from you guys more than anything. This is where we do it so we can interact with you all. So we'll always be asking for questions or feedback or opinions, whatever. So make sure y'all are tuning in. And if you don't get to tune in, if you miss some of it, or if you missed the beginning, don't worry. Yep. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. Like we're getting. It's not like where Bobby and I started, where you had to go back and find the video the next day. Yep. Like we'll have this.
It's a much more professional setup now.
Yeah, this shit'll be back up and running, and we'll have it on Spotify tomorrow morning. If you got a commute, or if you're just dicking around in the office or whatever. Friday's I've learned this from now having a new job. Friday's a great day to do absolutely nothing and get paid for it. Never had the opportunity to do that my whole life. So I hope nobody from work is listening when I say that, but it's nice. It's nice having I call them an administrative day. That's what I call my Fridays.
That's exactly what hey, you're not doing it. You're not doing nothing.
No, I'm
recharging the batteries and getting ready for the weekend.
That's right. So no, we appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank you so much for all your contributions. I know Bobby and I could speak for Bobby and I both that we're really looking forward to getting back into baseball again. It's a thing we love, and that's it. That's a podcast.
All right. Yep. You guys enjoy. Have a fantastic weekend, and make sure you tune in next Wednesday for the Generous Degenerates as well. Peace and love. You guys have a wonderful weekend.